And welcome to Hannity. Now, tonight, Democrats, the media mob, they are focused on one thing and one thing only, and that is the one riot that took place on January 6th, 2021, not the 574 riots in the summer of 2020. It's literally all they have. They're clinging to it, and abortion like manna from heaven, the only political issues they think they have. They have taken every word of this week's double hearsay witness as complete gospel truth. They have raced to the finish line, and many on the media mob in particular, many in Congress, they have announced that former President Donald J. Trump is guilty of everything she accused him of. Never mind the many reports that two Secret Service agents deny her allegation that Donald Trump tried to commandeer the vehicle that he was being driven in. Never mind that one of President Trump's attorneys says, even though she testified under oath it was her handwriting, it's my handwriting. And again, she did that under oath. Never mind that the President Trump's denials that he ever wanted to wave armed people into the rally. He's denied it. How about we do a few simple things for once and not rush to judgment and maybe give people the benefit of the doubt? And let's do these three things. Let's have, one, the Secret Service agents, let them sign sworn affidavits. They don't even have to go before cameras and give up their careers. Two, how about we do this? Why don't we hire the best professional handwriting experts? Because I would bet a lot of money that they'll be able to determine whether or not it was Trump's lawyer or the hearsay witness who actually wrote the notes that they referred to in the hearings this week. And how about number three? How about we see if any of the people that were manning the metal detectors were ever asked to stop doing their jobs, and we can put them before the cameras. Then the committee can investigate whether the president authorized the National Guard, as four people with the president on January 4th have said to us right here on this program they witnessed him doing it. This is an amazing distraction, though, for the Democrats and their press secretaries and the media mob, because their policies are failing on a spectacular and unprecedented level, so they don't have to talk about that because they'll just stick to January 6th. Now, their president, his radical party, is a disaster for the entire country. Now, as a result, America's economy is historically bad. The Dow just had its worst 6 months to start a year since 1962. The S&P is off to their worst start since 1970, and the NASDAQ, they've had their worst start ever. Now, meanwhile, breaking today, the Atlanta Fed is projecting that our economy will officially be in a recession by July. Remember, it's defined by 2 quarters of negative growth. Remember, a few days ago, the administration they were telling us not to worry about a recession, that it was not inevitable. Of course, these are the same geniuses that promised that inflation was transitory, the same geniuses who seem to believe that some kind of magical transition to wind and solar is unfolding before our eyes and will bring us to the renewable energy independence promised land, because Joe and his radical New Green Deal socialists, they promised us they would eliminate American fossil fuels. Now, when they said they would eliminate fossil fuels, they didn't say only domestic fossil fuels, because they have no problem importing, let's see, Russian oil, OPEC nations oil, Saudi Arabian oil. They're open to importing oil from Venezuela. And I hear they even took 1 million barrels of oil from Iran last year. Now, clearly, they have no idea what they're doing, and the pain and the suffering of these radical policies and all that pain that's causing every American now. And earlier today, when Joe Biden was asked how long Americans would need to fit the bill for these rising gas prices, Joe Biden just shrugged it off and said, well, as long as it takes. Take a look.
We are going to support Ukraine as long as it takes. Look at the impact that the war on Ukraine has had on Russia. They've had to renege on their national debt for the first time since the beginning, almost well over 100 years. They've lost 15 years of the gains they made in terms of their economy. They're in a situation where they're having trouble because of my imposition of dealing with what can be exported to Russia in terms of technology. They can't even, they're going to have trouble maintaining oil production because they don't have the technology to do it. They need American technology.
Where's the sense of urgency, the sense of capturing the moment and helping the American people? Apparently, Joe Biden doesn't feel your pain. Maybe he just thinks everyone flies around the world collecting millions of dollars from oligarchs and bad actors in Russia or the Bank of China or oil and gas companies in Ukraine like his son, Zero Experience Hunter. Or maybe Joe Biden simply doesn't care or doesn't even know. Now, as we all know, there is one person and one person only who decreased America's domestic supply of oil and gas. It wasn't Vladimir Putin, it was Joe Biden. Joe Biden doesn't care about the truth. Just listen to the president's pretty deranged speech in Europe when he somehow managed to attack the U.S. Supreme Court, all while lying once again about inflation. Take a look.
We have the strongest economy in the world. Our inflation rates are lower than other nations in the world. The one thing that has been destabilizing is the outrageous behavior of the Supreme Court of the United States in overruling not only Roe v. Wade, but essentially challenging the right to privacy. We've been a leader in the world in terms of personal rights and privacy rights, and it is a mistake, in my view, for the Supreme Court to do what it did. I can understand why the American people are frustrated because of what the Supreme Court did. I can understand why the American people are frustrated because of inflation.
Well, in truth, we got to remind you, Joe wasn't a leader in civil rights because Joe partnered with a former Klansman named Robert Byrd and tried to stop the integration of public schools. He didn't want the schools, in his words, to become racial jungles. So let's help educate Joe Biden because he's deeply confused, as everybody knows. Every single other country in the G7 has a lower inflation rate than our country, the USA. In fact, almost every single country in the developed world has a lower rate, including Canada, Germany, France, Italy, Japan, Saudi Arabia, and I can keep going. And by the way, for Joe to attack one of America's greatest institutions, the U.S. Supreme Court, while on foreign soil, that's pretty low even for Joe. But don't take my word for it. Listen to Joe Biden himself, because he said it in 2017. Take a listen.
What worries me most, and I never thought I'd have to make this speech or want to make this speech, the almost drumbeat of denigration of the institutional structures that govern us is dangerous. When you delegitimize the courts, you delegitimize the legislative body.
It does raise a lot of questions. Does Joe Biden hold any real principles or values other than enriching himself, his family, and going to Delaware every other weekend? Well, pretty much every weekend. The country's falling apart. Joe Biden is just doddering along, doing whatever his far-left advisors tell him to do. And it's now so bad, even top Democrats, they're voicing their concerns. Tonight, according to a poll conducted by the AP, a vast majority of Democrats, 78%, think this country, our country, is headed in the wrong direction under Joe Biden. That's Democrats. His Real Clear Politics average has Joe's approval under 38%, the lowest point in his presidency. By the way, that includes outlier polls that give him very high approval ratings that are not real. Former Obama advisor David Axelrod is now venting about Joe Biden, even on fake news CNN. Take a look.
When the president got into those questions, gas prices and inflation and abortion rights, there was a lot less of that certainty, a lot less of that emphatic nature of his initial presentation on NATO because he doesn't have great answers.
Well, it's embarrassing for Joe Biden, the Democratic Party, but so much worse for the American people that are struggling to fill up their gas tanks and put food on the table because we have a human vegetable that probably doesn't know what day of the week it is today as president. And, of course, he's surrounded by a bunch of radical woke staffers who don't know anything about the economy or energy or anything else. So if we're serious, if Joe Biden is not mentally or physically up to the job, he should retire. Now a full 59%, a new poll of Americans see exactly what I've been telling you since the campaign. I was kind of the lone voice out there saying this guy's weak and frail and a cognitive mess. Wasn't hard to spot. Now 59% of Americans see it. Think about this. Joe Biden almost never takes questions from the press. The only sit-down TV interview in the past 6 months was Jimmy Kimmel. Wasn't exactly a barn burner either. According to Politico, the White House avoids using the Oval Office for press events because they don't have a teleprompter. And look at your screen. During meetings, Biden is relying on giant note cards like that saying, "Say hello, then sit in your seat." Okay, so ask yourself, if you can't have a conversation without a note card or do a Q&A without a teleprompter, are you really capable of being the president of the United States of America? I would argue the hardest job in the world. Now, in the coming months, as America now battles this recession, stagflation, and probably worse, as we battle spiking gas prices, energy prices, Biden is now set to give one major address. About the economy? Wrong. January 6th. Hey, Sean Hannity here. Hey, click here to subscribe to Fox News YouTube page and catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You will not get it anywhere else.